In 9.5 we're continuing with our unit on conics, and so the topic for this particular section is we're going to classify the conics from the general equations. So if you have the equation in general form, okay, then just by looking at the equation you can tell what type of conic that you have. And more specifically, if you analyze the values of a and c, so a is the coefficient of the x squared term and c is the coefficient of the y squared term. And so by looking at those two values, we can determine what type of conic that we have. All right. So if it's a circle, then A is going to be equal to C, right? Provided that your A is not equal to 0, right? So they both basically right here can't be 0. So they've got to be equal to each other, right? And of course not 0. Because if it zeroes out, if they're both 0, then there's no squared term at all and it's not a circle. All right? But if the A and the C are the same, then you have yourself a circle. For a parabola, if A times C is equal to 0, meaning that one of these two is 0, but again not both, because if they're both 0, both x, there would be no squared term for the x or the y, and then it wouldn't be a conic section. All right, so as long as one of these two is 0, then it's a parabola. If A times C is greater than 0, meaning that A and C have like signs, either both positive or both negative, then you have yourself an ellipse. And if A times C is less than 0, meaning that they have different signs, one's positive, one's negative, then you have yourself a hyperbola. So just by looking at the general form of the equation, you can determine what type of conic section that you have. And so this will be helpful in the next section when we are given an equation and then we have to kind of put it in the correct form and all those determine different characteristics about the conic. Well, it first helps to know what type of conic it is, and this is how we do it. Okay. Keep in mind that this test only works when you have a conic section. It doesn't apply if the equation that you have is not a conic section. Okay, so like for example, this one, it wouldn't apply, right? So you couldn't use this determination, and the reason why is because if you were to try to kind of solve this for y, you'd see the reason. So if I move the x over and then take the square root of both sides, then what I'd be doing is taking the square root of a negative number, which can't be graphed on the real number line. All right. So this is not a conic, and therefore this test wouldn't apply. All right. Let's see. Okay, so now all we're going to be doing on this section is taking a look at the equation in general form and classifying it, right? And so not a whole lot of computation type work to do on this one. All we have to do is analyze it, use our chart, and tell what type of a conic it is. So on this one, okay, we're looking for our A and our C. So my A right here is going to be 4. My C term, which is with the y squared, is not here, so that's 0. So what that means is 4 times 0 equals 0. And if that's the case, AC equals 0, we have a parabola. Yeah. And you can use Desmos to double check really quickly to see if that indeed is true or not. And so let's go here and pull up our Desmos calculator. And remember, Desmos will take it just like this. So we'll go 4x squared minus 9x plus y minus 5 equals 0. And then we can see that we have ourselves a parabola. All right, so that's also another way to double check to make sure that you've done it correctly. All right, the next one, my A is 4. Okay, my C is -1. And so kind of going through my progression here, they're not the same, right? They're not equal to 0 when you multiply them together, but the product is a negative number, which would indicate that I have a hyperbola. Again, can be verified graphically. Let's try it. 4x squared minus y squared plus 8 2x minus 6y plus 4 equals 0. And then again, you can see we've got a hyperbola. All right. So what do we have next? Okay, so next here, my a value is going to be 2. My c value is going to be 4. Okay, so they're not equal. They don't. The product is not 0. But when I do multiply them together, 2 times 4, we get 8, which is a positive number, and so I know I have an ellipse. Let's graph it and see if that is indeed the case. 2x squared plus 4y squared minus 4x plus 12y equals 0. And we can see we do have an ellipse. Right. Next one. On the next one, my a value is 2. My c value is 2. And so 2 equals 2. And so we have a circle. So once again, verifying 2x squared plus 2y squared minus 8x plus 12y plus 2 equals 0. And we can see our circle. All right. So that's pretty much it for this section. Like I said, quick and easy to be able to determine from the general form of the equation what kind of conic section we have. And then we will build on that from there. All right.